God calls the church to go and make disciples. But did you know that less than 2% of people in Germany attend a Bible-believing church? But God is at work. This is the story of how he brought a group of people from all over the world to establish a ministry that helps local churches plant healthy new churches. This is the story of the Aquila Initiative.
We are from Johannesburg, South Africa. My name is Nick.
And I'm Jackie.
This journey started in 2010 while still living in South Africa. It was with a heart to impact communities with the gospel. And in line with this, I was compelled to go on mission trips to Zimbabwe and other parts of Southern Africa and to support many ministries in my local church, which was Ascending Church. I'd always expected to end up in rural parts of Southern or even Central Africa.
And I didn't, because glamping is better than camping.
I was well experienced in roughing it outdoors and have had the opportunity to travel to about 60% of the countries in Africa, either through church ministry or through my mentor at the time, Stan. But the outworking of this heart for the nations came when God convicted me to move to Germany, of all places, for the sake of the gospel. I never wanted to move to Germany. I had a terrible time of it when I was in Germany when I was 18, and I thought at the time, I will never ever move back to Germany.
Initially, our plan was to move to Germany to start a business, and the business being the means to move to the United States. That was the end goal at the time, where we would be involved in ministry with family. But God intervened, and shortly before leaving, we knew that Germany would be long-term. We didn't know specifics except that God has called us to Germany rather than going through it.
And from our initial business ideas, when we were first moving to Germany in 2012, I enrolled to study. I studied communications design, which brought us to Cologne specifically.
At the time, I was not prepared for what was to come in the last decade here in Germany. God has allowed a long, ongoing season of just trial upon trial. And through all of this refining, I have learned to submit to my husband, and in so doing, submit to the Lord and stay here in Germany and endure. So there's been a lot of dying to self, and despite all this turmoil within, I was convinced of a few things, and one of them being that this is where we were called to be, part of the IBCC. And the other was just a resounding conviction about Aquila Initiative's vision and mission. I can't say that it's been fun or a grand experience of any sort, but I can say that we have purpose and we have direction, and we are where we are meant to be. And we're doing exactly what we're meant to be doing. And in that comes joy and comes fulfillment.
We started out then in IBC Cologne straight away, which happened to be during a time of transition for the church, with an interim pastor and a Dunding congregation. But despite this, we were very sure that we needed to be part of this church, and went about connecting with as many people there as we could.
And from there, it didn't take long before we had people in our small apartment many weeks, up to 7 times a week.
Intense.
It was hard for Nick. I was in my element. It was weird at times for me when we first got to Germany. Personally, having come from a more mature body where being an active part of the local church and serving one another was really well understood and lived out. And I didn't know any different. That was all I knew. I was also immature in my faith at the time and overzealous, actually. Again, amidst all the newness of how church is done in this context, it was clear that IBCC was where we were called to be.
And then exactly 1 year later, David moved his whole family to Cologne, to become the full-time pastor of IBC Cologne. David and I became fast friends almost immediately. In hindsight, I would say that largely because we were just so clearly aligned in our passion for church and mission. And the church started to experience much change through his leadership. So after 7 years of being at IBC Cologne, we formed part of the planting team and then moved to Bonn to support the new church plant, which eventually became IBC Bonn.
it's just amazing to see how God authors his story in our lives. Some of the kids who were part of the youth ministry that we were involved in Cologne are now leaders in that very local body, and one is currently apprenticing at Aquila Theological Institute.
For the work to continue here in Germany and throughout Europe, we need your help. Please pray about how you could get involved in this ministry and how you could give to the Aquila Initiative. We're trusting the Lord for 85,000 euros in order to see this year out, and more for the next year, so that we can cover the costs involved in training leaders and expanding our network to engage more churches in multiplying. Please consider giving. On our website, you can find it at www.aquila-initiative.org.